Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Meet the EVOC high-performance laptop from HID Evolution. This is the model number PB51EF-G. Check the links in the description below for current pricing, as laptop pricing has been fluctuating quite a bit as of late. I spec'd this out myself. We got the 8750H, we've got an RTX 2070 115 watt variant, not a Max Q, 16 gigabytes of RAM and dual channel 2666. We've got half a terabyte of storage that'll do 4-lane NVMe or SATA. The second M.2 is 4-lane NVMe only. You have space for a 2.5-inch drive as well. And the network interface card I spec'd out with a 9260. And the 62 watt-hour battery is good for about an hour and a half to 4 hours, depending on the graphics mode you have selected. Cooling a laptop like this is not easy. There's moments where it could potentially pull 200 watts from the CPU-GPU load combined. One of HID Evolution's specialities is applying liquid metal to the CPU and GPU should you decide to purchase a laptop from them. It's a small fee, and it is worth it in my opinion, as these components run very warm, and having them perform the job means your warranty does not get voided. Their craftsmanship here is top-notch, using all the appropriate precautions necessary to prevent any sort of spillage. We also opted for the Fuji polythermal pads here, the optimum thermal performance we could possibly get out of this laptop, and we have it right here. The weight of the laptop is around 5.6 pounds, and the overall build quality, aluminum lid, aluminum deck with a plastic bottom panel. Overall, this is a very nicely built 15-inch laptop, has a nice stealthy look, and I quite like it. I/O over on the left-hand side, we have our lock, a USB 3.1, we have separate mic and headphone jack. In the rear, we have the LAN port, HDMI, mini display port over USB-C, a USB 3.1, and the power plug. Powering this laptop is a 230 watt supply unit. Over on the right hand side we have a USB-C Thunderbolt 3. Now this is an option on some of these laptops depending on where you purchase it from, just buyer beware. As well as a USB 3.1, and in the front we have a full-size card reader. Opening this machine with one hand is a breeze. The touchpad uses Windows Precision drivers. It is made of glass, incredibly smooth, and there's even a fingerprint reader underneath the glass, which is also optional for Windows Hello. Dedicated buttons are some of the nicer ones I have used over the last several years. They have a very consistent feel whether you're pushing them on the center or near the edges. The keyboard itself reminds me of a Steel Series type keyboard that you will find on other laptops out there. The keyboard deck itself has a little bit more flex than some of the laptops that we have featured lately. However, typing on it felt great. There was no quirks with it whatsoever. Even while gaming untuned with this laptop, the hottest the keyboard would get would be around 42 degrees Celsius. Using the function key and the F keys up top will allow you to disable things such as the trackpad, of course adjust your brightness and volume, put the computer to sleep, as well as giving you access to the LED keyboard settings, various things like that. Once you get used to this layout, I think you'll find it quite functional. The display is a full HD 144Hz G-Sync panel, part number AUO80ED. Post-color calibration came in at 97% standard RGB, 69% NTSC, and 75% Adobe RGB. A little bit brighter than we've seen lately as well at 319 nits. The webcam and mic are located right where we want them. Have a look and listen. So the 720p webcam and microphone are located at the top of the bezel, right where we like them. Picking up keyboard strokes would sound like this. And of course, maxing out those fans, well, have a listen. The proprietary software inside is the Clevo Control Center 3.0. Should you misplace this, HID has you covered. I will post a link in the description below that will get you all the drivers necessary and keep you up to date with your machine here. The Clevo Control Center allows the different power modes. You have quiet, performance, entertainment, and power saving. You can also press the FN3 to switch between all four of these on the fly. Performance mode allows the CPU to pull 55 watts. Entertainment will pull 45 watts, and power saving and quiet, well, if you want the machine just to idle there quietly, guaranteed, you can run it on quiet mode. I have been using this on performance mode most of the time. The microphone right now is right on top of this machine, and it is dead silent. Of course, within this control center, you have access to the keyboard, GPU overclocking, the Flexi key. You can set up some macros in there as well as fan speed. I have been leaving this on the automatic setting, as it does a very good job of scaling the fans up to their maximum where it counts. I really like that. I really like that a lot, as a matter of fact, so I no longer have to tick the box for maximum fans. Decibels on this laptop have been great, idling right at around 30 to 31 decibels, and gaming fan acoustics 48 to 50, and they peak at 50. One of the quieter laptops around. Now let's move on to performance, thermals, and frame rates. We're on BIOS 1.07.05p. The ambient temperature has been a little bit warmer here lately, and we're at 76 degrees Fahrenheit. GPU-Z reveals the temperature limit of 87 degrees Celsius, and we have that honored here on this machine. The GPU will pull up to 115 watts, and the CPU will short-term boost up to 90 watts before it brings itself back down to 55, as you can see here in our stock A64 clip. Here's where things get interesting thermally on this chassis. The rubber feet surrounding the fans on the bottom panel do not allow enough breathing room for this laptop, and it suffocates it. Here's an audio clip comparing this with the Aero 15. When I lift up the Aero 15 and set it back down with max fan, the fan pitch does not change at all. You can test this out on any laptop. Now, when you hear that same thing with the EVOC machine, it is a massive difference. Go back and listen to this again with your eyes closed. So without some sort of prop for this laptop, despite having liquid metal and maxed out fans, you are going to get some thermal throttling on the GPU at 86 to 87 degrees Celsius, and the CPU is going to have no problem running into the mid to upper 90s within 30 minutes of gaming. Without a prop, even undervolting the CPU and using the MSI voltage curve editor on the GPU yields very little thermal improvements. It's not until I finally broke out this X prop, link in the description below. You can fit this thing in your pocket, and it does a nice job of elegantly propping up the laptop, offers good balance, and it allows this machine to breathe. Look at the difference now, thermally, with just a propped up laptop. But this is Bob of all trades. We have to take this a step further. But when we undervolt the CPU's core and cache to negative 0.125 and use MSI's voltage curve editor to tweak this curve, what we want to do here is pull around 1500 megahertz at 0.8 volts. Voltage on this will normally run to 1.044. So we're going to bring this down to around 0.8 and at around 1500 megahertz. We will now completely remove power limit throttling. We will not negatively impact performance at all while gaming. And now we have maximum GPU temperatures of around 73 degrees and the CPU's in the mid 80s. That is pulling 55 watts on the CPU when it needs it, on 110 watts now being pulled from the 2070 on this little tiny laptop. This thing is kicking some serious butt now. Far Cry 5, we know this is a heat monster. As a matter of fact, it might be more thermally demanding than Battlefield 5. We're getting, 90 FPS on high settings here? What do you think of these temps? Pretty amazing after we've propped the laptop, undervolted the CPU, and dialed in that GPU. What about Apex Legends? Same thing, ridiculously cool. This thing is not loud at all, running around 47 to 48 decibels right now. Look at those temperatures, averaging well over 100 FPS. Fantastic. Firestrike, over 20,000 on the GPU, no problem there. Very strong physics score too, because by default it will pull 55 watts. It's very dialed in. Port Royale, over 4,100 points there. Very remarkable laptop. You get this thing propped up a little bit, follow some undervolt tweaking guides that I will leave linked in the description below, and this laptop is an absolute monster. So now let's have a quick listen to the audio performance. Now let's have a solid look into the BIOS. It is well above average here. We even have XMP profiles for memory. Pro tip, these chassis here are notorious for being able to run 3000 megahertz RAM by default. Just a heads up, there's a lot of people out there, wink wink, that have done this. Very cool. Your mileage may vary. Pushing it beyond that, your mileage may vary as well. Of course, you can see that we have Thunderbolt in here, as well as being able to go from the dedicated graphics to MS Hybrid, aka we'll call it Optimus. This is a sweet machine. Great port selection. I like that I can order this from HID, just stealthed out. They're kind enough to include some stickers, EVOC decals that would normally come on these should you request it. You can have them put that on there. Fresh Windows install. All these models, Clevo base, come with all the screws, and to whom it may concern, actually really nice instruction manual. I've had a handful of Clevo laptops and they always come with something like this, and it's very clear and concise. Microfiber cloth, and well, just forget about that. But honestly, the small shortcomings here, you gotta prop it up. And yes, that could be a pain in the butt for some of you. I have offered a solution. It's a very cheap one, I think around $27 or $30. Again, linked in the description below for that X stand. This machine, thanks to HID's liquid metal thermal application, Fuji poly pads, propping this thing up and then applying my tweaks, I mean, this is the ultimate combination. You see how this thing is thermally, and it's running a lot harder than most i7-8750H laptops do. That 2070 at 115 watts, that is a tough GPU to cool, and it nips at the heels on a 2080 Max Q. This is a potent laptop. Stealthed out, I love it to pieces. The 62 watt-hour battery. I would complain about that a whole lot more if this thing was lacking in storage, but at least it gave us two M.2s that are 4 lanes each of PCIe NVMe and a 2.5-inch drive. I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't want the 2.5-inch drive gone and then improve the battery to, let's say, 85 watt hours. Of course I would prefer that. I think most people would, but at least this does not have an identity crisis, okay? This is giving us an amazing amount of storage and a battery that is ultimately above average in a machine that you can take anywhere. It looks super stealthy, and it is one of the more powerful laptops. As a matter of fact, probably the strongest laptop that I have featured on the channel in the 15-inch, or rather 14-inch chassis being a thin bezel. So that's going to do it for now. Links in the description below for HID Evolution. Shout out to you guys. You always do amazing work. I could not apply liquid metal any better than you could, so nice job there. Don't forget, guys, HID Evolution, liquid metal, will not void your warranty. They rock. And that's going to do it for now, folks. Have a good day.